The afternoon sun cut through the club's French windows at an angle that made the crystal chandeliers throw fractured light across the marble floor. I could smell furniture polish and expensive cologne, the kind that comes in bottles with French names. The air conditioning hummed low, just enough to keep the summer heat at bay. That's when I heard her laugh. The one I'd known for 19 years. The one that used to mean something. She stood near the bar with a man I'd never seen before, her hand resting on his arm like it belonged there. Then she said it, loud enough for the group around them to hear. "I'd like you all to meet my husband, Richard." My chest went still. Not tight. Still. I didn't move from where I stood near the entrance. I didn't call out. The security guard beside me, Michael, a man I'd known for 8 years, looked at me and then at her. His face said everything his mouth couldn't. She had no idea what she just started. My name is David Garrett. I'm 52 years old. For 23 years, I worked as a senior compliance officer for a regional financial firm. Steady work. Unglamorous. The kind of job that keeps systems running but never makes headlines. Jennifer and I had been married for 19 years. On paper, we looked solid. Good house in a decent neighborhood. 2 cars. Joint accounts. The kind of marriage people describe as comfortable, which is another way of saying it had stopped growing a long time ago. I started noticing the small cuts years before the big wound. The way she'd schedule family dinners without asking if I had plans. The way my opinions became background noise at parties. Once I suggested we postpone a kitchen renovation until the market stabilized. She signed the contract the next day. When I asked why, she said, "You always find a reason to wait, David. Some of us want to actually live." I let it go. I let a lot go. Somewhere along the way, I confused patience with permission. I thought silence meant I was being reasonable. I didn't realize I was teaching her that I didn't matter. The country club had been Jennifer's idea 3 years earlier. She'd wanted access to the social network, the tennis courts, the Sunday brunches where people made connections that led to opportunities. I'd agreed because it seemed harmless. She made friends quickly. I kept my membership active mostly to use the gym and occasionally play golf with clients. We moved in separate orbits, even there. That afternoon, I'd come in to meet a potential client for an informal round. I was early. That's the only reason I was standing near the entrance when she walked in with him. Richard. That's what she'd called him. He had silver hair, a tailored suit, and the kind of easy confidence that comes from never having been told no. She introduced him to the Hendersons, the Chens, the Mallorys, people we both knew, people who knew me. "This is Richard, my husband. He's in commercial real estate. We just got back from Napa." Her voice had a brightness I hadn't heard in years. Paula Henderson looked confused. She glanced around the room like she was searching for a camera crew. "Jennifer, I thought David was your—" Jennifer cut her off with a laugh. "Oh, that's ancient history. We both moved on. I'm just so much happier now." She squeezed Richard's arm. He smiled down at her like he'd won something. I watched her body language. Relaxed. Confident. She wasn't lying to cover an affair. She wasn't nervous about being caught. She was genuinely introducing this man as though I had ceased to exist. As though our marriage had already been dissolved in her mind, and everyone else just needed to catch up. Paula Henderson's husband, Tom, saw me. His face went pale. He started to say something, but I shook my head once. Michael, the security guard, leaned toward me. "Mr. Garrett, do you want me to—" I shook my head again. Not yet. Jennifer moved through the crowd, laughing, touching Richard's shoulder, accepting congratulations. I heard someone say, "You two make such a lovely couple." I heard her say, "Thank you. It feels like starting over, you know. Like I finally found someone who sees me." That was the moment something inside me went quiet. Not broken, not angry, just quiet. I turned and walked back toward the parking lot. Michael followed me. "Mr. Garrett, I'm sorry. I didn't know." I looked at him. Neither did I. I didn't go home. I drove to a hotel near the interstate and checked in under my own name. The room smelled like bleach and air freshener. The curtains were heavy, and the bedspread was beige. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall for what felt like an hour. Then I opened my laptop. I logged into our joint accounts. Our savings account showed a withdrawal of $43,000 2 weeks earlier, transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Our checking account had been drained to just above the minimum balance. Another transfer. Same unknown account. I opened my phone and scrolled through our text history. Most of my recent messages to her had been logistical. Running late. Need anything from the store? Dentist appointment moved to Thursday. Her replies had been short. K. No. Fine. I checked her social media. There were photos I hadn't seen. Dinners at restaurants I'd never been to. Weekend trips I hadn't known about. In 3 of the photos, Richard's hand was visible at the edge of the frame. One photo was dated 4 months ago. I took screenshots of everything. Then I called my attorney, Marcus Webb, a man I'd worked with on estate planning 5 years earlier. He answered on the second ring. David, it's been a while. I kept my voice even. I need to see you tomorrow morning, first thing. He must have heard something in my tone because he didn't ask questions. 8 o'clock, I'll have coffee ready. Marcus didn't waste time on pleasantries. I showed him the bank statements, the photos, the text messages. I told him about the country club. He leaned back in his chair and laced his fingers together. Has she filed for divorce? I shook my head. Not that I know of. He nodded slowly. So she's living as though the marriage is over, spending marital assets, and introducing another man as her husband, all without any legal separation or dissolution proceedings. He paused. That's bold. I waited. He tapped his pen on the desk. Here's what we're going to do. First, we freeze what's left in those joint accounts. Second, we file for legal separation immediately. Third, we request a full accounting of all marital assets. Fourth, we document every single instance of her representing herself as unmarried or married to someone else. That's fraud, David. In some contexts, it could even be bigamy if she tries to formalize anything with this Richard. He looked at me. You ready for this to get uncomfortable? I met his eyes. It's already uncomfortable. The freeze went through that afternoon. Jennifer called me 6 times in the span of an hour. I didn't answer. She left one voicemail. Her voice was sharp, confused. David, something's wrong with the accounts. I can't access anything. Call me back. I didn't. Instead, I forwarded the voicemail to Marcus. He replied with one line. Perfect. Let her wonder. The next morning, a process server delivered the legal separation papers to her at the house. She called me 9 times that day. I didn't answer. She sent texts. We need to talk. This is childish. You're overreacting. I took screenshots and sent them to Marcus. He replied, keep not reacting. You're doing great. 2 days later, she tried a different approach. She sent a message that said, David, I know you're hurt, but we've been drifting for years. You know that. This doesn't have to be ugly. Let's just sit down and figure this out like adults. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Marcus. His reply came fast. She's worried. Don't respond. Her attorney reached out to Marcus the following week. They wanted to mediate. Marcus asked if I was open to it. I said yes, but only if it was recorded and Richard was not present. They agreed. The mediation was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon in a neutral office downtown. Jennifer arrived 10 minutes late. She looked tired. Her makeup was heavier than usual, like she was trying to cover something. She didn't look at me when she sat down. Her attorney, a woman named Diane Frost, opened with the standard pleasantries. Then she said, my client believes this separation was filed in haste and without proper communication. She'd like to discuss reconciliation. Marcus didn't blink. Reconciliation. Interesting word choice considering she publicly introduced another man as her husband at a social club where dozens of witnesses can corroborate the statement. Diane stiffened. Jennifer finally looked at me. That was a misunderstanding. I kept my face neutral. Marcus opened a folder. A misunderstanding that coincided with the unauthorized withdrawal of $43,000 from a joint savings account and $22,000 from a joint checking account? He slid a paper across the table. Care to explain where that money is? Jennifer's jaw tightened. That money was mine too. I had every right to access it. Marcus nodded. Absolutely, but under Ohio law, dissipation of marital assets during a marriage, especially when one party is engaging in an extramarital relationship, can be factored into the division of property. He slid another document across the table. This is a sworn affidavit from the country club's event coordinator, who confirmed that you introduced Richard Calloway as your husband at a member social on August 14th. We also have photographs from your social media accounts showing you with Mr. Calloway dating back 4 months, including trips to Napa, Scottsdale, and Charleston. He paused. Trips funded, I assume, with marital assets. Diane leaned forward. My client made an error in judgment in how she described her relationship status. That doesn't constitute fraud. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It does when she's signing legal documents as Jennifer Garrett while simultaneously representing herself as Jennifer Calloway in social settings. It does when she's transferring marital funds into accounts shared with a third party. And it absolutely does when she's consulting divorce attorneys while still legally married and cohabitating under the same roof as her lawful husband. Jennifer's face went red, then pale. She looked at me. David, please, we can work this out. I made mistakes, but so did you. You were never really there. You just existed. I needed more. Her voice cracked. For the first time, I saw something real under the anger. Loneliness, fear. But I also saw the same person who'd emptied our accounts, who'd humiliated me in front of people I'd known for years, who'd decided I was disposable. I leaned forward. My voice was calm, measured. You chose who mattered when you withdrew that money without telling me. Everything after that was just noise. I stood up. My attorney will send you the settlement terms. You'll find them more than fair, but they're non-negotiable. I picked up my folder. We're done here. I left the building and walked 4 blocks to my car. The air was cooler than it had been in weeks. I could hear traffic, a distant siren, someone's radio playing through an open window. My phone buzzed twice. I didn't check it. That night, I changed the locks on the house. Jennifer had moved in with Richard 2 weeks earlier, so it wasn't an eviction. It was a formality, but it mattered. I sat on the back porch with a glass of water and watched the sun go down. The yard needed mowing. The fence needed paint. There were 100 small things I'd put off because I thought I had time. I realized I'd been living in a house that hadn't felt like home in years. I'd just been too busy keeping the peace to notice. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Jennifer agreed to the terms after her attorney explained that fighting would cost more than conceding. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and my car. She kept hers. The marital assets were split, with an adjustment for the money she'd taken. She didn't contest it. I heard through mutual acquaintances that her relationship with Richard ended 2 months after our divorce was final. Apparently, he hadn't known she was still legally married when they started seeing each other. When he found out, he reconsidered. I didn't take pleasure in that. I just noted it and moved on. I saw her once more, 6 months later, at a grocery store near our old neighborhood. She was in the produce section, holding a bag of apples. She looked smaller somehow, older. She saw me and hesitated. I nodded once. She nodded back. We didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I don't think about her often now. When I do, it's not with anger. It's with something closer to clarity. I didn't lose a marriage. I lost the idea of one. And that idea had been dead long before she introduced Richard at the country club. I should have seen it sooner. I should have spoken up when my voice still mattered. But I also know that some people don't hear you until you stop talking. Silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the loudest thing you can say. I didn't feel triumphant when it was over. I felt unburdened, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't know I could set down. The house is quieter now, but it's mine. The mornings are slower, but they're mine. I'm learning what it means to build a life that doesn't require someone else's permission. If you had been in my place, would you have confronted her at the country club? Or would you have walked away and planned your next move in silence? Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Your presence means more than you know. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe. Let's keep walking this road together.